Right, so game one right here. Here we go. Maybe I'll try adding music to these if I do more deck techs. I don't know how you guys prefer it. I would prefer to listen to music, but I know some people find it a little bit annoying. Um, I know what I will listen to. I've tried country a few streams, so that seems to have turned people off. I really enjoy country nowadays. Live with a guy from Nevada who's really into it. So there's a lot of country in this house, which means okay. So we're up against some kind of combo. Right? No student on turn two, which is pretty good for this hand, even though we could have answered with Vanquish or whatever. Um, One idea I've had since between the deck tech and here is I've thought about maybe cutting the favor and just playing second side instead. Um, because I think they do almost the same thing um, in the list currently. And second sides that's is actually like leverage the dragons more than this list is currently doing. So that might give us even more late game punch. Like the idea behind this whole thing is to be the best late game deck, and if we can't do that, we're not really doing anything. So I'm likely gonna want to sweep, but I think playing the storyteller here kind of incentivizes him to play more cards, and that's sweet. Plus, it lets us we can treat this as a loot card essentially. Here, I think I'll just discard Echo. I keep calling this card Echo, Herald Song. I think this type of like control matchup is where you want as much interaction as you can possibly find. So anything we can keep our hands on. Actually, pretty good. Like, you see, obviously there's no empirical evidence, but there is certainly a chance he wouldn't have played his Marshall if we hadn't played Riolan. Okay, so likely not a list with sweepers. I think the obelisk is the most. It's very rare that they play a sweeper heavy, like a version with harsh and obelisk. Here we can be gamblers and play the staff and kind of hope he doesn't have power, or we can do this the right way and just sit on lightning strike. I think I'm gonna sit on strike. This is actually perfect because then next turn, even if we don't draw power, we can kind of and free vanquish is a bit on the high side for me, personally. So the way we lose this is probably him running continuous parliaments. Great Parliament, obviously a very good card against this deck. It's like a lot of punch in a single card, and that's something you always like. Here I can kind of let him draw a card to draw a card myself, but it's weak to silence from him. Hard to say. You know what? I think with this many resources, the late game favors me. He doesn't have any resources almost, so I'd rather just be a bit more inefficient. I want everything in my hand, so I'm just gonna discard a second Herald Song. That's also a very like normal line of play. You use it and then discard itself, and it's kind of like it just cycled. Here we go. Actually, it only gets one, which is really good for us. Best card he can have here, Silence, I guess. Just. Yeah, that's a sweep waiting to happen. And now the game is close to over. Even like, since he didn't have 8 mana on the first Parliament, it just puts us in such a good spot that I think from here it's nigh impossible for him to steal the game. It would take something truly special. Blah blah blah. Yeah. Huh. It's not the worst. I'm just gonna cast this and protect the staff. We don't really. This is a way to gain card advantage, and that's not something we really need right now. We'd rather just protect the win condition we already have. That's my reasoning. I like to start closing the game out, but at the same time, yeah, I'm just gonna put this on the board. You know what, we'll swing. If he does 3 to the staff, it's not the end of the world. And next turn we also have a shit ton more. We maybe even play removal from here if we want to. Not that we need to. So I'm just gonna 9, yeah, we can swing first, draw, and then see what we do from there. That's if you don't have channel in your pile. Obvious choice. To the surprise of absolutely no one. Yeah, let's thin our deck a little bit. We're gonna have to discard these, but it makes our draws slightly better for the rest of the game, which is good. Still not super high on removal in hand, so I'm a little bit reluctant to permafrost this guy. I think I'm just gonna play the dragon. Yeah, it's hard to say. I think we can probably find some if we need it though. Like the reason I wouldn't like to spend it here is maybe we would like just we're in an aggressive position already. So he's putting if he plays a blocker, but permafrost still doesn't answer Sandstorm Titan, which is the biggest stone wall he can play there. Vodkan doesn't really stop us. We have a lot of answers to Vodkan, so that's not really that big of an issue. So I think you're gonna do 6 games and then slices of 2 a piece, and hopefully YouTube will let me upload that much. I'm not sure, but probably. This hand is really good if we hit second blue, but if we don't, I don't know, it's a bit too shaky for me. Especially since mulligan. Like I constantly find myself thinking about the mulliganing in this game as magic, and yeah, that puts the decisions in a like completely different light. But I think thinking about it this way is you mulligan more rather than less, is what I'm saying. Especially with this deck, where hitting for power is something you actively want in your starting hand a lot of the time. Sweet to have a vanquish target this early. This is one of those, you never know what's right. Like, vanquish is better against certain cards, but then permafrost is certainly better against that card, and so forth. So it just comes down to, I don't know, gut feeling. Obviously thinking about what they've done before, but if that's their first play, you really have no idea. He's discarded Flame Blast, which also tells us he's not. Maybe we can infer he's not the super controlling version, or his hand doesn't really have that much burn. It's probably the biggest takeaway we can. Because if he like was expecting to do a burn me out, which I think maybe if you don't have a 1 or 2 drop, it's kind of unrealistic. Maybe he would take Flame Blast, but it's also like in this situation where you obviously take the Impending Doom because the threat is just much stronger. Here, he's likely gonna obliterate us if we play this, but at the same time, we don't really have a way to armor up or anything, so I'd rather take the shot now. Especially since we don't really have a good way to get card advantage out of the graveyard, so the Herald isn't that good. This is strong. I don't know. you rarely see Burn Queen on ladder. I think like these two in combination. What you see is Jito-less Jito mostly. Still in good shape though. We're not really taking any damage. Like if I'm making him waste resources, just deal with my resources, and that's not a battle he's ever gonna win. Ever. This trade also roughly even, maybe? Actually, I think it gained 1 life on the transaction. This is one of those matchups where this just being another harsh rule is very relevant. Yeah, let's just play this. Worst case, it's an island's favor. Actually, this is the one matchup, like I said before, where favor is, unless they have Vara's favor, it's roughly a card, like a 2-for-1. That's not true for most of the other matchups, but here it can be pretty close to accurate actually. So like you're gonna take the trade here, which I'm fine with. I'd rather like the way to deal with Umber and Reaper, I guess with most decks, but especially here, it's just don't take hits from it. Just trade. Take the hit and just be. Here I think I'm gonna wait because the dragon kind of blanks him. Yeah, so we trade again. I mean, it's not my favorite situation to have to deal with 2 Reapers in a row. I think I would have preferred something else happening, but you know what? Like, it's fine, especially since we have another dragon. I just play that. Same situation as we were last turn, and he doesn't have endless death strikes, so it's not impossible that the dragon survives here. This is one of those matches where this card just essentially wins the game. Like, how's he gonna burn me out if I play this? And then you just have to be a little bit careful not run into like a death creature, whatever you call it, a deadly creature, and maybe like not a die to random, well, not off the top or whatever. So what I would like to do here is, like, the perfect scenario would be killing this after playing favors. I could negate the trigger, but this still kind of gains me life because of I get another trigger or whatever. Plus, you know, it gets me closer to playing the Scourge and kind of being out of burn range. And the game planning, once again, the most important thing in any card game. We have a game plan here. We don't have to kill him. That doesn't matter. We're gonna play this card, and that's the way we're gonna win the game. Everything else is bullshit. So I'm not gonna be trying to clock him here. I mean, it could happen that there's just a situation where, as a effect of that, I might even sit on this infiltrate just to get another shot at favor, unless we find something. Yeah, you know what? I might just do that. And I'm gonna save this for if he plays a third Reaper. It's just like, know what you want to do, especially with a deck like this. Where honestly, control decks are usually easier to game plan with because the game plan is usually like get very late and win by inevitability. But I don't know, probably me and a lot of other people that come from limited specifically, maybe you have this issue too, where you, what am I trying to say? When you finally decide you're going to close the gap and actually win the game. You want to do it as quickly as possible, because in the limited mindset, the denying your opponent a card off the top is so important. And that goes for constructed too, but I think limited really hammers that into your mind, because there's so many games where if you could have closed one turn early and not have them draw that specific card, that mostly it's the creature or the removal spell, you would have won instead of lost. So like it really hammers that into your brain.